What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Bronx Attorney Broadcast. I'm your host, Will Ferrero. Today, I sit down and I talk with Sean Donnelly. Sean started off as in medical device sales, and he got that suggestion when he was actually playing professional football for the New York Giants, which is my favorite team. So I thought that was really cool. And while Sean was working in the medical device sales industry, he realized that there was an opportunity to connect the medical providers with the personal injury attorneys like me. So he founded Silver Tokyo, which he calls medical concierges. And basically what they do is they're able to help people who have been injured find that perfect medical provider for them and the perfect representation. And what's really great about this is, sometimes I'll reach out to Sean and I say, hey, Sean, I need a recommendation for somebody who takes Medicare and is a foot specialist in Suffolk County. And he has a recommendation right for me. And it's somebody who is typically able to help me out, not only with caring for my client, but then also helping me on the litigation side. So I find that to be, really great. So I hope you enjoy our conversation. All right, what's going on, Sean? How you doing today? Thanks for taking the time to come on down to my house, to my home studio here, and chat with me.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it. This is sort of where I grew up, so coming here is like coming back home. So this is fun for me.
Yeah, so this is City Island that we're on right now, and you grew up in Pelham, right? Which is like 5 minutes up the road.
So I would in the summer I would bike here, like to the path, and then like seafood with my brothers. It was like good childhood memories here.
Yeah. So today we're gonna talk about this company that you have that you started. It's called Silver Tokyo, right?
Yep. Named it after my cat. It's sort of not relevant to what it is, but just a funny story.
So how is it named after your cat? What aspect of your cat is it named after?
My cat is named Tokyo, and he's a silver chinchilla Persian.
Okay.
And my wife was like, "Hey, name it after your cat." So,
so here you are.
Here I am. Yep.
And so what you do is you call it medical concierge, right?
Yes. So basically, I figured out. I was. I could tell my story. I started. So I was a football player, and I was trying to figure out what to do next, and that ended up being medical device sales. It was recommended to me by some coaches, and I just really hit the ground running with it. Started in 2017. Have a very successful territory. So I got to meet every doctor essentially in New York City, and it just sort of coincidentally, I had a couple best friends that were attorneys and needed help connecting with doctors on for treatment for their clients, like where to send them, who to go to, and that's where it started. Sort of gotten more sophisticated as time goes on, where now, yes, like I offer a concierge service for attorneys to help them get their clients to doctors for treatment, and covers a range from foot and ankle to spine to neurology, even psychiatry that comes up, anything you can imagine, any sort of interaction with a doctor, I try to facilitate for attorneys that I work with.
That's a pretty humble summation of your football career. Yep. But you were on the Giants for a while, weren't you?
Yeah. So I was on the New York Giants. I played college at Tulane football. They just won the Cotton Bowl this past year, so okay. Pretty proud of my boys right now. I was an offensive tackle, sustained some orthopedic injury. Sort of was always interested in working with doctors, and that certainly led my career to where it is, and also taught me all the work ethic I needed to meet everybody and to really get after it.
And so was that when you were with the Giants that somebody on their staff suggested to you that you should look into medical device sales?
Yeah, so it was with a coach, who was just describing, because I had never heard of anything. It was pretty much all football, and then there was a coach that was describing what a medical device salesperson does, and it sounded intriguing and fun to me. I would love working with doctors and hospitals and surgery centers, and being in the operating room, being in the clinics, all that clinical setting was really appealing to me.
Mm-hmm. And did he like identify something in your personality that he thought, you'd be good at sales?
Yeah, you know what? He was pointing to everybody really, but I felt maybe he was pointing to me. But yeah, it was he saw that I would probably would work hard and be committed to it, and that that's sort of what I do.
And is through the medical sales how you started to make these connections with people in the medical field, like the providers?
Yes. So I met every provider, a very intimate setting in the operating room.
Right.
And
you're physically in the operating room with surgeons, right?
Right. So I learned sort of, which doctors, would be best to work with from a lawyer's perspective. Some doctors have practices that sort of are set up for it. Like they understand how no fault works. They understand how workers' compensation works. And I was just having these conversations because I was curious about the doctors I was working with and sort of learn more and more on the business side of how their practices worked. And it just sort of like serendipitously had a best friend who sort of mentored me on the legal side on what he would look for in a doctor and sort of relationships he needed, and realized that there was an opportunity there.
Because I know from my perspective as a personal injury attorney, sometimes it's hard to find a doctor that's close to where your client is, that takes your client's insurance, that is able to deal with what could be like a very niche injury or some specialty. And it's a pain to try to find somebody who's fits all those and checks all those boxes.
Right. Yeah. Geography is obviously so important. It's got to be convenient for the client. And then even insurances, like I know it's been painful for some attorneys if the client has Medicaid or Medicare or no insurance at all. And I really, being so intimate with these doctors, I can have these conversations and I know exactly what they take and what makes sense for these clients so they get the treatment that they need.
So how did you have the idea to go from medical sales into providing this service of connecting personal injury attorneys? And it's, almost all personal injury attorneys that you're working with, right?
Personal injury attorneys and workers' compensation attorneys. Right. Yeah. So between those two,
okay,
I work with.
So how did you make that? How did you identify a space that was lacking in what you're offering through Silver Tokyo?
So it was really conversation with my friend attorney. Shout out Ross Raggio. It was conversations with him. And then, meeting other attorneys who also had the same need and they needed good treatment. And it sort of happened, just speaking to them and speaking to my doctors and realizing that there needs to be a way for them to connect,
And so how did you get started? What was like the first couple things that you did to try to make these connections?
I would say I started basically with a couple of guys. They would ask if I have any doctors that I could recommend in a certain geography, and I would say, okay, yeah, this guy, I think this would be a good fit for your shoulder, knee, or this would be a good fit for your neck, back. And it sort of started from there and progressed as time went on, and more specialties, more insurances, and things of that nature.
So it started to grow not only with the amount of attorneys that you're working with, but also with the
providers.
The providers.
Yeah. So the amount of providers grew, where maybe it was first I was best in Manhattan, and then sort of the outer boroughs, and now Long Island, New Jersey, and that's sort of where I'm at now, is like the tri-state area.
Okay, so it's pretty substantial then for a New York City practitioner. You can find something for
basically the whole New York City metropolitan area. regardless of geography and wherever. Just the importance is that it's a good provider, and there's a convenience with the geography.
And this is something that is no cost to personal injury, medical malpractice, workers' compensation attorneys, right?
No, I don't charge any fees to the attorneys. It's for like the relationship.
This episode of the Bronx Attorney Broadcast was brought to you by me, Will Ferrero. I'm an attorney at Prior Law in the Bronx. We primarily practice personal injury law, but we can help you with just about any legal issue that you may have. And if it's not something that we can personally help you with, we can connect you with an expert in that area of law. You can find me online on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. My handle is typically @Bronx Attorney. And if you can't find me on one of those social media pages, you can email me, ferrero@priorlaw.com, or call me at the office, 718-829-0222. And now back to the show. Okay. So, another thing that, when we first met, when we first started talking was when you're a personal injury attorney, you get a lot of people offering, doctors to you all the time. But I like the way that you went around your sales approach. I thought that we made a pretty good connection with, first having a phone call and then meeting in person. Is that something that you always, the way you always went about kind of making the sale?
No, I sort of in the past, I would say I would try to rush things and be too aggressive. No, that was certainly fine tuned as time went on. I think when you make the sale, there's sort of a patience that goes along with it, that you learn that that you don't rush the relationship. You let the sort of relationship unfold, and make sure that makes sense for everybody. That's sort of practice, I would say. But I would recommend that to any salesman is obviously work hard, but take your time. You work your craft. Don't try to just make the sale.
Why do you focus on in-person meetings rather than just doing like Zooms and stuff when you're looking for new business?
I think there's a value to the in-person. There's a lot more that can be discussed, and I think it's good to just have the physical presence. I think more there's more conversation that gets had, and you get more of an understanding, I think, versus on the Zoom. I think a lot of communication gets lost. Yeah, I think in person should be a part of every business relationship for sure.
So another thing that I find interesting about your business model is your networking events that you hold with the what is it? Docs, jocks, and lawyers.
Yes. So I figured was great because, first, attorneys get a lot of referrals from other attorneys, so that that's a great way for attorneys to network. And anyone I work with, I want them to meet everybody, and that's obviously a big part of it. And then also, to have conversations with providers, because I think. It's good for the attorney to have an understanding of what goes on with the providers and have an understanding of the orthopedics and what the client sort of needs from that perspective.
And so what about the jocks? You got some local athletes that come by these things, don't you?
Yeah. So I some other football players through the NFL alumni I invite as well. They all sort of some of them do what I do, but I think it's interesting for everybody to have those guys. And then my business partner, who isn't here today, was a football player and a rugby player, so I also just like the way it sounded too.
Yeah, and that's Dane, right?
Yeah, that's Dane. Yep.
Okay.
Shout out Dane.
Who couldn't make it today?
Who couldn't make it? Yeah.
When you first got started, were there any like challenges that you saw, or did you just take off right away with?
I took off right away. I think there is a learning curve. Me being an athlete, there was a learning curve, understanding orthopedics And then there's also a learning curve understanding what the lawyers do. So that was something that I would push through and work hard and try to figure out as I went. But there was some times that I would have to slow down and study and try to understand how the esquires and how the doctors what they needed and how that all that worked. Yeah.
So what are some of like the problem solving experiences that you've had when working with attorneys?
So
in terms of solving their problems,
yeah,
and taking that off their plate.
I would say the big one. Some of the big ones is the insurances. Finding a doctor that will go through Medicaid or Medicare. Those are big ones. Getting a good deal. I would say on the funding or the testimony. Nobody wants to be overcharged for that. So just finding what the fair market value is and then presenting that to the attorneys. I would say that's a good value add I have. And then there's other examples too. When a client needed a second opinion and I was able to facilitate that within a moment's notice, or a client was going away and needed to be seen that week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was.
It's just like impossible to get people in right away.
I figured,
it comes to doctors.
Yeah, since I have their personal phone numbers, I figured that one out. Yeah, so I was able to. Hey, I need this.
You have some access to them that the rest of us don't have.
Yeah, I got the bat line, so I called up the bat line and I was able to get some of that stuff done too. And then even. I try not to recommend any provider that isn't too friendly with medical records. But if they are, I've also at times even shown up physically at an office and obtained medical records for a practice and made sure it got there basically.
Mm-hmm. So how do you stay organized with all the doctors that you have across all the specialties and locations? Because I know I've asked you a couple questions sometimes, and you sent me a business card like immediately.
A lot of filing goes on in my head. Honestly, I do use Google Maps. I do use Notes. I'm mobile, so everything's on my phone. But it's organized in a way that makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but yes, if I hear a certain neighborhood, I need somebody in East New York, I immediately
know.
Yeah, I'm like, that guy, I know who's there. So then I sort of can make the recommendation of the guys there pretty quickly.
Yeah, and is it all people that you've had relationships with in the past, or are you like kind of quote unquote signing up new doctors too?
No, it's for the most part doctors that I'm familiar with. I have their number. In many cases, like I know their families. I do have tight relationships with doctors I would recommend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And are your doctors, will they also be experts in a case as well?
Yeah, so they all understand how no fault works and personal injury, and these are guys that understand the need to testify and how to follow the workers' comp guidelines, like stuff like that. They're all versed in it, and their practices are set up for it.
Because I know we run into sometimes where we have a client that goes to a doctor they found on their own, and then you want the doctor to testify on behalf of your client, and they give you a number that's so high that's basically like I don't want to do that number. No, yeah, the doctors I would recommend understand that there's a relationship with law firms and that they have to work with them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is there any like particularly any successes that you're particularly proud of that's happened so far?
Yeah, I'd say so. There was a last week I got a referral of a client who was hurt in an accident and actually needed transportation, and I provided that. And I called the client, made sure she was okay. It was that was a satisfying experience.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's been other times, when they just have a good experience with the doctor, and I hear from the attorney, oh, that doctor, really did a great job for my client, made them feel good, and that always brightens my day.
Has any personal injury attorneys hit particularly large with your doctor's help, or are we still like too early on to see?
Yes, yeah, I'm sure they have. I've there are some that I can think of that, yes, the doctors worked out for them, and I'm very happy for the attorney in those examples too. Yes.
Yeah. How often do doctors that you work with need to testify, or are you kind of these cases settling before they get to that stage?
I would say I see both. I get asked to help with that, so I'd say like maybe in the past couple months, 3 or 4 times I've been asked to help with the testifying. So that's pretty often, I'd say, I guess. Yeah, I think, that definitely comes up.
And what's a good stage in the, personal injury process for somebody to contact you to find that really good doctor? Like before litigation, during litigation?
When, I would say, when that no-fault claim starts and you want to get treatment started right away for your client because, the client's hurt, I would say it's a good time to reach out. And
so pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
As soon as you sign up a client.
I think it would make sense to start thinking about treatment and what the client needs.
Mm-hmm. We tell all our clients all the time, you could be super hurt, super devastating injury, but if it's not documented by a doctor in records, it's essentially not there, because a jury needs to see that, injury in the records, and the insurance company is not going to be scared of your case unless it's there written down by a respected doctor.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. They should be treated. That should be the first sort of thought is treatment when as soon as that client is signed up.
So what are you doing to grow your business right now?
Do a lot of networking. Office visits, dinners, the events, knocking on doors. I'm always adding new providers. Always talking to new law firms I would say most of what I try to do though is in person. So even if it's, say, what you would say is a cold call, a cold call is for me showing up somewhere in person. Yeah, that's
just saying like, hey, can I talk to so and so?
Yeah, trying to make an appointment with the front desk, even if it's I can't be seen today. Can I get seen another time? That's something that we've always had the most success with.
So that works for you.
100% works more than a phone call or an email. You want to get the new business, you got to show up. That's it's tried and true.
I think that's a testament to your sales ability too, because I think a lot of people show up at offices trying to give out cards and make appointments and not really get anywhere.
I mean, a lot of times you don't, but that shouldn't discourage you. That's just part of the job. That's part of any sales job. Is you don't just get discouraged. You take it and then you try to learn and keep going. And it's practice like anything else.
So how many years have you been doing Silver Tokyo's medical concierge work?
Since 2017. Okay. As I said, it has gotten more sophisticated, and my understanding of attorneys' needs has grown. But the connections that I've been making have been since 2017.
What was the COVID break there for you like? People still going to the doctor?
Yeah, no, COVID was only a couple of months, and then people still needed treatment. Right. So that was brief for me.
You think this is something that you and Dane are going to be able to do alone together, or are you going to look to get office space and hire employees?
I think that's our goal is to get to that point. Right now, we handle everything, but eventually, yes, having the employees and having a full-fledged business is on our radar.
Mm-hmm. What do you think the most valuable thing you learned was since you started the business in 2017?
Most valuable, I think, obviously, is availability. If an attorney needs to communicate, you address that right away. See, like a doctor, you show you show these people that you work with respect and prioritize them. That I would say has been the best thing I've done for my career.
Mm-hmm. And for everybody who's listening, you're not just saying that because I know whenever our office reaches out to you, we hear back very quickly. So
that's the name of the game.
Did you always want to have your own business, or is that something that developed later?
No, I always knew that I needed to have my own business. I knew that I wanted to be my own boss. That's just been solidified as the years have gone on. I like the entrepreneurial side, and I like the challenges and the work. It's all very fulfilling to me.
And is that something that you developed, your business sense? Did you develop that organically, or were you reading books, listening to podcasts?
I would say both. It's definitely self-research. I think experience is so important. Going out and having conversations with people, putting shots up, I think is as amazing education as reading reading the novels that are out there. I think you got to do everything. Mm-hmm. That's just my opinion. Mm-hmm.
What are some of your goals for the next upcoming years? Say 2-3 years from now.
I would building the business as we discussed, hiring people, training people, getting the office space. Those are definitely my goals. Is to grow and help people and just keep it going. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so when you say you always wanted to be a business owner, but what was the thing that gave you like the final push to actually do it?
I would say in situations where I realized that I needed to pave my own way, and not everyone's been built to be managed, and
right.
that definitely occurred to me earlier in my career.
You had to put your own style on it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that I just needed to do that.
Who was your ideal client for Silver Tokyo?
Ideal client, I would say, would be someone that understood the value the value that I was proposing, like understood my value proposition and got on board. As far as like personalities and that sort of thing, I think we pride ourselves on being easy to work with and sort of like Johnny on the spot, so that we're inclusive, if I'd say.
So could any doctor contact you and be like, hey, can you keep me in mind for stuff?
Yeah, that would be a conversation. I would, yeah, but absolutely, I would. My door is open. Obviously, because I want everyone else's door to be open. Mine's also open.
So a lot of times when you think about personal injury, you think about the basic stuff: car accidents, work accidents. Like, could you help me out if I had like a lead poisoning case or a sex abuse case?
Yes, so that we're happy to help with that as well. So we've done that. We've matched neurologists or psychiatrists. And basically anything you throw at us, we're happy to figure it out too. So that's lead poisoning. I have to figure out what specialty that is, but I'd get it done.
Yeah. So if somebody's looking to reach out and either on the medical side or the law side, where would they find you? How should they get in touch with you?
I could post my email and phone.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
You on socials or anything like that?
Sean. It's my name at Sean SEAN at Silver Tokyo LLC.com. The email I would say is a perfect time to do that.
And you're pretty fast with the email.
Yeah, I'm all over that email. I'll take anybody, of course.
All right, Sean. This was fun. Thanks for telling me a little bit more about your business.
Thanks, Will. Awesome, man.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Bronx Attorney Broadcast. Please like, review, and subscribe so we can help the channel continue to grow. And if you're interested in connecting with any of the guests, please let me know, and I'd be happy to make the introduction.